Huh?
Catch up on your sleep.
I cut up my sleep, Bruce. I was worried about you all week. I mean, it's snowing and then dark in West Virginia. I didn't know where you were going to end up. I mean, movie Deliverance, all these things are going through my mind, like, you're okay, though. How do you drive in the snow?
Well, I had one of those like all-wheel drive. Like I had like one of those rental car places where they let you pick one. So it's like
It's got,
all-wheel.
but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean how'd you drive, though? I mean, you slip and slide around a little bit, or?
Yeah, a little bit, but mostly just really safe.
That's good, good. That's the thing. I needed that cleared up because it's been a long couple days worrying about it. What's up, guys? Let's do this.
How do you feel it went? I mean, you had told us before, you'd tell us after, like what you thought about having the long one first.
I thought it was great. It was a trip we needed. It was great to go kind of hunker down a little bit and kind of be by ourselves and really spend a lot of time just focusing on the things that we think are going to drive winning, from the culture to, tactics to individual things. So we spent a lot of time and, when it's cold outside and it's snowing and, you're in these hotels, you're not going outside much. So we had a lot of time to do multiple film sessions and have conversations with guys. So I think it was great.
Did anybody, I know that flu and things like that are going around. Has it hit your team or anything?
I mean, just normal stuff. I mean, nothing worthy of reporting. I mean, we're humans like anybody else, and we catch the same stuff everyone else catches. And unfortunately, there's no excuses. You just got to power through it.
Well, did you, what's your thoughts on UCF, and did you catch at least video? The Colorado game was pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, I watched a little bit of it live, and then kind of watched it back on video. I mean, obviously UCF's a really talented team. They got off to a good start this season. That they got a good mix of talented players. They have a couple experienced guards that are a bucket. They have a four-man who's versatile. He's scoring inside and out, and then they have some size, and their size, not only can impact the defensive end, but they're shooting the ball on the perimeter. And then they have guys off the bench that are, they were big-time recruits, and so they have a lot of talent, and they play with great effort, and we know it's going to be a challenge. We know in this conference that there's no nights off, so we don't expect this to be any different.
How is the weekly kind of flow working for you so far? I know you were kind of joking on the radio last night. You kept referring to West Virginia as a Saturday game, and
yeah, I mean, listen, it's a lot of years. I mean, there was a couple years early in my career at Gonzaga where we kind of got on Saturday, Monday. We were on the big Monday deal, and then we kind of went back Thursday, Saturday. So, I mean, just for a majority of my coaching career, conference season has been pretty much Thursdays and Saturdays, and so you get a little bit of a rhythm. And how to prepare your team and how to take everything week by week. What should you practice harder on a Monday? Should you take a Monday off? All those things. So yeah, so I'm gonna have to learn that and figure it out. I mean, the one day is there's not too many 1 day preps. I don't know how many we have. To be honest with you, I haven't looked that far ahead. 2, thanks, Bruce. Two. So 2. We'll probably have to get back into our old rhythm of, preparing for those games that week. That would have been like a traditional Pac-12 week. But there's a lot of 2 and 3 day preps. So we just got to figure the rhythm of that out. What that looks like with days off. What that looks like with practicing on yourself. What that looks like on preparing for an opponent. So it'll probably be a little bit of a work in progress.
Do you find, I don't know already, but like, does Thursday become sort of the new Monday as far as using that as a work on yourself kind of day, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, or you might need to recover a little bit. I mean, it was a 4.5 hour plane ride in the middle of the night back from West Virginia. So, I mean, just a lot of things. I mean, I think it's going to be up in the air, and we're always going to try to find time to work on ourselves because that's as important as anything. But you also want to be, you're also preparing for opponents you've never played before, and maybe in years past, you might have 1 or 2 new coaches, kind of pop in the conference every year. You had to kind of figure out what their deal was, but now, everyone's a new coach pretty much.
With what we're seeing from Henry, maybe what's the big thing that stands out that maybe you didn't think that would come real quick for him?
Well, the one thing is, he spent a lot of time working on his shooting, and he is actually a good shooter. I don't think his shooting numbers are great, but which is encouraging for me. He's doing the other things, and we need him to impact the game at both ends of the floor, and I make no bones about it. Our bigs have always been able to create an advantage for us, albeit maybe in different styles, but it's always been an advantage. Our bigs production and impact on the game. And so, Henry's figuring out his own way to create that advantage for us, and I've been really, really happy for him. But the one thing, my message has been pretty consistent. Just because you played a few good games, don't assume you've arrived. I mean, you've got to show up and keep pushing the envelope, and you got to perform every day. I mean, there's, sometimes you see that with a kind of a player who's coming on. They'll come on, and then they maybe let their guard down a little bit, and then they'll kind of, step back, and then you kind of got to rebuild them again. And, I've just told Henry, you've been here long enough, and you've been through the build-up, breakdown process enough that let's stay built up and keep going. And so I'm really encouraged where he's at, and feel like there's still a meat on the bone there to get better.
Trey Townsend seemed more aggressive against West Virginia, taking three-pointers. Was that a directive that you want him to take more of those?
I mean, I want Trey to be comfortable, shooting shots he feels good, that he can be successful with. And so I have no problem with him shooting threes. He did a great job, moving, within our offense and finding a three-point opportunity at the top of the key, I think in the first half of that game, which was great. And so Trey's a really good player. I don't want him to get too fixated on well, I got to shoot threes or I just got to play inside. He's got to kind of find his way. And when you're given a player that latitude, you could play inside, you could play outside, and you're kind of, he's kind of figuring it out on his own as the game plays out in front of him. You got to give him some time. You got to give him some time to kind of figure out where they could be most effective. I think he's moving better, within the offense, and again, it's not easy to do. You're sliding to the corner one time, you're posting up one time, you're at the top of the key the next time. There's a lot of different areas on the floor that he's playing in. So I think he's getting more comfortable figuring that out, and I think he's really making growth, on the defensive end, playing on the perimeter and different coverages and stuff like that. So I'm happy with, Trey's performance and encouraged that I know he's a really good player and, he's capable of doing more and we're ready for him to do more when it makes sense for it to happen. And I mean, there's no reason that can't be Saturday.
Do you put any value in plus minus? Is that a stat you pay?
I mean, I don't like totally discount it, but I don't like make it the end all be all. I mean, U5 could be playing right now, okay? He could not do his job on defense, and you could be a -3. And you had nothing to do with it, okay? He could take a really bad shot, and you could be wide open for a layup. You had nothing to do with that. So, like, there's so many of those little things in there. Now, over the course of time, for sure, you can look at it as it's an interesting variable. But I think when you're just looking at it at one-offs or one game or one run, sometimes it's hard.
Talking about
Let him finish up there. He'll finish up there.
Yeah,
You want to
I guess just when you see like some of the guys that start, that maybe their numbers aren't as good as some of the ones on the bench, is it a matter of you still want to have those guys as reserves because of that second wave punch?
I mean, listen, if we're playing better, I just know this. Early in the season, we weren't able to build leads. I think in every one of our last game, I mean, probably all of December and on, we've built leads. We may not have held every lead, but we've built leads. So I'm encouraged where we're going. And I feel like sometimes you just have to put the pieces in the right place, and it doesn't have to come down to, well, this guy's playing good, we're going to start him because that guy didn't play good last game. That doesn't make sense because, you have to have a little bit of certainty there. And I'm not concerned about our lineup right now. I mean, that could change over the course of time, but right now I'm not.
Your players were out at Diamond Children's yesterday. Can you just talk a little bit about the partnership with Coaches versus Cancer and how it's going?
Yeah, I mean, there's a long-standing, partnership between, the banner and the University of Arizona Athletic Department, and it's been amazing. And it's been an amazing partnership on both ends. I mean, they do a great job servicing our student athletes, and the care and attention in a timely manner we get is pretty remarkable. And on the flip side, there's we love being involved with kids, and when kids are struggling, it breaks your heart. And so anytime our guys can go over there and be a part of an event that is, helping kids feel better or helping kids have the opportunity to feel better, we want to participate. So, it's a really cool deal they do. I think they did it last year, the shoe painting. And, I think that, in at a certain game, I don't have the date, 'cause I'm literally, as Bruce will tell you, I'm a day-to-day guy. So I'm literally just getting ready for UCF. I don't know what date they're going to do it, but when we do that, it'll be a cool event, and then they'll auction the shoes off, and they'll go to a great cause. So it's really cool stuff.
Have you seen the pair that you're going to wear yet?
I haven't, but I heard they're really good. So,
What's on it or whatever?
yeah.
I was actually going to ask a similar question that Brian did, but the lineup, is there, granted, like you said, obviously you're winning, things are going well with that, but is there concern at all when you don't start guys like KJ or Henry, they're playing really well, and, you can't maybe give them the same amount of minutes overall because they're sitting out those first four or whatever?
No. I mean, yeah. You might sit out the first four. You might sit out the first two. I mean, it just depends on how it's going. And I think both those guys have, and had recent games where they've played well, and maybe they played more minutes than the guy that started in front of them. So as the game plays out, we'll make adjustments accordingly.
Is there some thought that I think maybe for whatever it's worth that maybe does Henry pair better with either Tobey or Trey, in the sense that if you started with him with one of those guys? I mean, has that been something you even think about if it comes to that?
I mean, for sure, you can always work about pairings, and I had put a lot of time this offseason in thinking about pairings. And, one of the centerpieces of the pairings isn't playing right now. So it's kind of blew it up a little bit. And so I've kind of had to just kind of figure it out on the fly. And I feel good where it's at. Henry and Tobey really aren't playing much together. That doesn't mean they can't or won't, but they just haven't been, because it just we've kind of took the rotation in another direction.
Notice, Tommy, any new defenses that West Virginia or Cincinnati were throwing at Caleb to try to slow him down?
No, nothing new. I mean, obviously Caleb's, going to be at the top of every team's scouting report, and I think West Virginia has a really good individual defender, and kid number 10 for them, and he was pretty committed to making Caleb's catches tough, and the team got playing well. We cycled through our rotation. Caleb came out, and the team continued to play really well, and so I just kind of rode that one out in the second half, and I mean, we feel like that was the right decision, but I really don't have any major concerns about Caleb. I mean, I think he's seen it all at this point, and he just has to stay hungry, and he has to stay committed to trying to outwork the defense. I mean, that there's really no other formula for it. I mean, you're gonna, if a team's putting great effort into trying to limit your touches, I mean, at some point you got to outwork them. And so and he has had moments where he's really done that this season. So we'll just continue to try to pursue that.
You use gravity to describe how he kind of draws all that attention, but do you think that you're seeing from the other players on the team when he's drawing that attention that they're making the most of their opportunities and that helps balance it out?
I mean, I think so. I mean, I think so. I mean, we're not expecting our offense to click at a crazy efficient level every Big 12 game. We know that the formula to winning is going to be a combination of efficient offense and efficient defense, and so I'm not really getting too caught up in they're taking away Caleb, but it's giving us this. I mean, we're looking at a lot of things, and the one thing I feel a lot better about now is the way the ball's moving and the way the players are moving. I feel a lot better about that. I think that's the most important part of our formula.
The teams you've played so far have been some of the slower ones tempo-wise in the conference. Do you feel that the way you guys have been handled, particularly the half court, bodes well for the rest of the season?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, we understand you're going to have to win games, and you can win games to get in the open court, but you're also going to have to win games in the half court. And we've always understood that. But listen, we're not going to turn down a fast break. We can get a layup. I mean, we're never going to turn that down. So, we'll continue to hunt those opportunities. But at the end of the day, when we get the ball to the half court, hopefully we can move it, move the ball, move our bodies, play with great fundamentals, and just make good decisions and get, great shot attempts, over and over again. We're not going to really make it much more complicated than that.
Baylor's also looked more aggressive defensively, especially, trapping a lot with KG out there trying to get steals. How do you like what you've seen from that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I think Caleb's defense has been good. I think on the road trip it was pretty good. I got after him a little bit a couple weeks ago. I thought he took a couple I would say really risky plays, kind of all or nothing type of plays, and I don't think he has to do that defensively. I think he's a really talented defender when he locks in. I think he's a guy that's really hard to score on when he locks in, and so just trust that. You don't have to necessarily get a steal on every pass or pick a guy's pocket on the first dribble to play good defense. And so I felt really good about how he defended last weekend, and I felt really good how our team defended overall last weekend for the most part. And and we know, hey, to win on the road, you got to play really good defense. And if you can go on the road and hold both teams under 40% field goal percentage, you give yourself a chance to win, and that's what we did.
Going back to Henry, the play he made against Cincinnati where he tapped the two offensive rebounds to himself to get the dunk. When you see a play like that, I mean, how does that make you feel?
Well, it's inspiring. It's inspiring to the team, and it's encouraging for Henry's development. I think Henry, also came up with in the first half of that West Virginia game, he came up with an offensive rebound on a free throw, kind of in a scramble situation. I mean, those hustle plays are huge. I mean, that tells you a guy's, giving effort and has belief and wants to help the team and make plays. So, yeah, but that play in particular against Cincinnati was, that was an important moment for our team and an important moment in that game. And I think it was kind of a, we'd kind of say a defining moment for Henry as he's growing in our program.
You talk about the defense improvement. How do you feel about just kind of the, individual one-on-one defense you may be having to throw up tomorrow with the way this team plays? And are you kind of curious to see how that plays out?
Well, I mean, listen, a lot of teams in this conference have good isolation players. And, UCF included. I mean, they have some players that are very good individually, and they, get into spots, and they're comfortable with them playing one-on-one from there. So you got to do a great job, guarding individually. But at the end of the day, you still have, 8 other guys on the court. So, usually, you can find help somewhere. And so, we're going to guard these guys as a team. Just like we do everyone. We're not going to try to put guys, on an island over and over and over again,
When you watch film on UCF, how do you differentiate between the team that beat Texas Tech and the team that lost by 50 to Kansas?
Well, I mean, I think the one thing that you have to account for, as a coach, and when you've been doing this for a minute, I think you have a lot of respect for your opponents. You understand there's going to be a response, and you just do a simple, you kind of reverse engineer it a little bit. So UCF goes into Texas Tech, plays really well, and gets a dub. Kansas plays West Virginia at home and didn't play great all game and didn't play very good at all in the first half, and I don't think that's news breaking. So Kansas makes the run that they do in Allen Fieldhouse, comes back, but West Virginia holds them off. How do you think those next few practices at Kansas were? And, UCF wins, probably feeling pretty good about themselves. So I think you just always have to account for that response. I mean, Kansas came out in that UCF game and played very spirited, great team basketball, great physical defense, and kind of were able to jump them a little bit and just got on the right side of it. So, I would assume that UCF went back before the Colorado game and had some spirited practices, and there was a response, and they fought last night, and they got down 10 in that game, or this was the last two nights ago, and then ended up finding a way and pulling it out. So, my assumption is, they learned a lesson in that Kansas game, and they're going to come in here hungry with an opportunity to go 3-1 to start out the Big 12, which is a great accomplishment. So. I'm expecting to see the team that played Texas Tech and the team that played Colorado.
A little bit of the opposite of that. You guys are coming off this big trip, and
I think so. Always. I mean, I don't know who's saying we're expected to win it. Well, I don't look at that stuff. You can look at that. I just know that we got to come out and we're going to have to fight possession by possession. Plain and simple. And you're going to have to win the game when the ball gets thrown up in those 40 minutes. Anything talked about before, anything talked about after, doesn't matter. So, if our guys are mature competitors, they understand they got a talented team coming in here Saturday in an important game. And if it makes them sleep easier, like think, oh, we're going to win this game, we don't have to try hard, they're in the wrong program, because that's not how we operate. So I'm expecting our guys to give UCF, sorry, it's a lot of years in another conference, UCF, it's to give them the 100% undivided full attention, because they got mine.
Apparently there are rankings now for basketball managers. Any thoughts on your guys?
I mean, I haven't seen those managers. If I don't look at our rankings, I'm not going to look at them, but the reports I'm getting are good. And the effort I'm seeing in some of the drill work and practice has been impressive. And then the managers are really gelling. They're, selfless guys, incredible work ethic. They don't got a lot of size, but they probably move the ball pretty well and give great effort on defense. And I'm telling you what, they're a great rebounding team. I watch them rebound when our guys shoot all the time. I mean, just rebounding, pass out, it's pretty impressive.
Just so I don't have to ask you after tomorrow's game, but just looking ahead a little bit for something I'm doing ahead. Rem on Baylor, is that kind of a natural, you figure, as far as the scout?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. I would think so. Listen, I think, Rem's been here 4 years now, and I'm pretty sure that, Baylor's probably evolved and doing a few different things than they were 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, I mean, it's a program he's familiar with and a team that he watches. I'm sure, when he has his spare time, I'm sure he's tuning into some Baylor games.
You worked with him before at Gonzaga. I was curious, when he came back, did he bring anything from that program that he said, hey, they do this is pretty cool, or anything like that?
I mean, Rem's, he was a developing coach. I mean, he came here, it was his first job. I mean, he was a GA. I mean, if you want to say that was his first job at Baylor. At Gonzaga, he was, he was on the team. He was a walk-on. So, he and I weren't sitting there talking about a bunch of basketball stuff on the daily basis. And then, he goes to Baylor and he does an incredible job for him. And, Rim's someone I've known and have been close to for a long time. So, we were able to give him the opportunity to kind of get his full-time coaching career started here, and he's done a great job.
Congratulations on another selection by USA Basketball for an assignment. How would this one be different than last summer?
Stressful. I mean, the U19 tournament's tough. It's really a tough tournament, and I don't think people understand. That you might have an age. Everybody's a similar age, but a lot of these teams from Europe, these kids have been playing pro the last 3 years, and we're going to go into the competition with a lot of high school kids, and kids that are just finishing their senior year, or kids that just finished their freshman year in college. So, it makes it for an interesting competition, and I know the U19s have become one of the tougher international competitions for USA Basketball to gold. And so, we know that when you represent USA Basketball, gold is the standard, and it's a challenge we fully embrace and accept, but we also understand it's going to be a lot of work. So, therein lies a stressful summer.
From what it seems like, you may have some really good players that play U17 move up, or do you have that?
I mean, there's so much time between now and then, and I'm literally not even focused on that. I mean, Michael Brooks and his staff at USA Basketball, they do a great job of kind of compiling a list of guys to invite to tryouts, and then, once that kind of happens, then, I kind of come in play, but, nothing right now.
You were doing this, or was there ever any doubt that you would come back for this, or?
I mean, they asked me to do 2 years, and for sure. So when I committed to 2 years, the plan was to do 2 years, but you don't sign it. You don't sign a contract. So if something would have come up, that for either side that made sense, to part ways. I mean, there's not a contract, so yeah. But I'm excited. I mean, listen, I love the opportunity that's been presented to our team this year, and I'm fired up to be in that moment right now, and see if we can make the most out of it. And then, once we get through this season, then I'm sure I'll, decompress, take a breath. You always have to try to rebuild a roster, and then I'll get excited about USA Basketball. So I got a few things ahead of me.
About the time the portal stops.
I mean, thanks, Bruce. Thanks. Yeah. All right, guys.